What archaeologists found in Egypt has left people speechless. If someone told you sand could cover up an entire city like New York, you'd say Mother Nature isn't so cruel, but it really is. Archaeologists uncovered a 3,000-year-old city somewhere in Egypt, and now we're wondering how many more cities are buried underneath our feet. The past is an important part of the human journey, and there's still so much to learn about our ancestors. But thanks to archaeologists, we're getting to know what Egyptian ancestors were like. And from these discoveries, we won't be out of place if we call them the greatest of them all. The ancient Egypt civilization was known for constructing mega projects like the famous Giza pyramid, just so they could lay their mummies. They also cut rocks weighing up to 100 tons without any technology, just so they could bury their dead. Who goes through that kind of stress just to preserve a dead body? Egyptians do. But there's something strange about some of these mummies. One appeared to be in excruciating pain before giving up the ghost, as if it were being tortured. And another, the mummies weren't humans at all. In this video, we will be traveling back to ancient Egypt to the times of the pharaohs and gods' wives to discover what it was like when the ancient civilization existed. Here are 6 discoveries about Egypt that will leave you speechless. 6. Screaming mummy. There's nothing strange about finding a mummy in Egypt. They are known for preserving dead bodies that way, but a screaming mummy is where we draw the line. Was this human being tortured? The discovery of the screaming mummy dates back to 1881, but even after years, archaeologists and researchers are not certain who the screaming mummy is. The only piece of information that seems valid is that he was royalty. This is because the mummy was discovered in the Deir el-Bahari tomb, where the priests of the 21st and 22nd dynasties buried the mummified bodies of royalties to prevent theft. However, some researchers claim that the screaming mummy is Prince Pentawere, who conspired against his father, Ramses III, to become king. Luck turned on him, and he was caught and hanged to death, which explains why his mouth was open. Others have also said that the screaming mummy is a princess who died of a heart attack, and their opinion is backed up by a CT scan, which proved that the blood vessel of the mummy was filled with atherosclerosis and fatty plaques. Interestingly, the screaming mummy's internal organs were intact, which would mean the deceased wasn't left for long when he or she was mummified. Other strange features of this mummy are that its head was slanted to the right and the legs were crossed. I wasn't there when it happened, but if the legs were crossed, I'd assume it's a hung victim. Number 5. Lost Golden City. Egypt is rich in gold, so a golden city should not come as a surprise, just that this one was lost. This ancient city existed between 3,000 and 3,400 years ago and was founded by the grandfather of Tutankhamun, Amenhotep III, the 9th king of the 18th dynasty. During his time of reign, the city flourished and prospered. After some time, the city literally went missing, not because a magician made it disappear, but because sand covered it. Just how much sand could cover an entire city? History reveals that Akhenaten, the father of Tutankhamun, abandoned the Golden City and flew to a new capital, Amarna, where he reigned with his wife, Nefertiti. In 2020, a group of archaeologists was about in Egypt looking for a mortuary temple in Luxor, and usually it takes them months or even years of excavating to find anything useful. By April of the following year, they ended up unearthing the Golden City alongside skeletons of humans and animals. Also covered earthenwares, jewelry, scarab beetles, and mud bricks with Amenhotep III were discovered. What do you think the lost Golden City would have looked like today if it was not covered up in sand? Number 4. Temples at Abu Simbel. Egyptian ancestors must have been really smart because they built structures that archaeologists are still trying to understand the technology they used. One is the Abu Simbel Temple, an ancient structure that King Ramses II built in 1200 BC. It is still not clear how these guys used crude tools and implements to paint walls and carve pillars and statues of different people, including King Ramses II. Here's where it gets crazier. The entire temple was carved of rock. Mind you, they had no tools. The 2 temples, which were built in honor of King Ramses II and his wife Queen Nefertiti, are located in Aswan, close to the Sudan border, with the large temple belonging to King Ramses. At the entrance are 4 gigantic statues of King Ramses II, and at its feet are small statues showing the queen and his children. These magnificent temples were, unfortunately, covered by sand because of their closeness to the River Nile. It was long forgotten until 1813, when Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered the temple. This brought about a lot of excavation and digging to clear the sand from the temple. This ancient edifice would not be left to bury in the sand again, so UNESCO, through their funded rescue campaign, funded the relocation of these temples in 1964, and they were moved in different pieces and lifted to 65 meters above their previous position. Number 3. Valley of Golden Mummies. Okay, this one is even more interesting than a screaming mummy. This one is a valley of mummies with some lightly coated in gold. What in the name of heaven and hell made these embalmers paint a dead body gold? Regarding ancient Egypt discoveries and research, Dr. Zahi Hawass is an expert, and the Valley of Golden Mummies is another feather in his heart. He and his team discovered the Valley of Golden Mummies in 1996, which turned out to be a massive burial site in the western desert of Egypt in Bahariya Oasis. The valley was so large that it contained over 10,000 mummies. None of them were recent, but date back as far as 2,000 years ago, some still very much untouched. Dr. Hawass reported that there were 4 categories of mummies found in the Valley of Golden Mummies. The first set of mummies was about 60 and looked like deities. The second group was covered in, while the third and fourth sets were in pottery coffin and wrapped in linen. Number 2. Mummified sacred beetles and cats. Tell me your ancestors love cats without telling me your ancestors love cats. And Egyptians can pull this up. An entire tomb full of mummified cats. Bizarre, right? In the Saqqara necropolis in Egypt, archaeologists stumbled on a 4,500-year-old tomb filled with mummified scarab beetles and cats, which was both scary and strange. Scary because they're, well, dead, and strange because why on earth would anyone mummify an animal? A total of 7 tombs were discovered, and 3 contained thousands of mummified cats and scarab beetles, which existed as far back as the 5th to 6th dynasties. One belonged to Khufu Imhotep, who was in charge of buildings in the royal palace. Among the tombs was a limestone sarcophagus in the Memphis necropolis section of the tomb that contained 2 big, pristine, mummified scarabs wrapped in linen. Other discoveries were 100 wooden cat statues, including the bronze cat statue devoted to Bastet, the goddess of cats. Several human tombs, 1,000 amulets, papyri baskets, jars full of writing implements, and other gilded statues in the form of a lion, cow, and falcon were also discovered. Number 1. 100-ton stone boxes. Never would you have thought it possible to move stone boxes weighing up to 100 tons at a time when forklifts, cranes, and winches were never in view. Well, the ancient Egyptians did, which has left many speechless. 100 tons of stone boxes were discovered northwest of the Djoser Pyramid in Saqqara. This pyramid was the cemetery of Apis bulls, which was the incarcerated deity of ancient Egypt. Apparently, Egyptians didn't think it was a good idea to bury their gods just anywhere, so they built a special place for them. The Serapeum contained 100 tons of boxes made with limestone, granite, diorite, and rose granite. Some boxes were made with rose granite or diorite, which are very hard to mine, and their quarries are far apart. The question here is, how were Egyptian ancestors able to transport granite at a distance of up to 800 kilometers from the Saqqara without any form of technology? Another awe-striking fact was how they could move the boxes underneath, considering their tremendous weight. Indeed, ancient Egyptians were the goats. Don't be shocked that more historical sites and artifacts are still buried in the sand somewhere in Egypt. If they are, archaeologists will find them. These guys know how to dig up the past better than jealous lovers.